practice doing this style, to launch right into playing this, it can be very intimidating, and there's a lot going on there with this hand as well as this hand. So to hone this down, simply take chords that you already know. For instance, the F chord, which is one that most players would know right off the bat, and you must get your thumb to be on autopilot doing this. So it doesn't really matter what chord you're playing, but I'm going to switch chords between my C and my F chord. So again, I want my thumb to be on autopilot. So simply doing this every day. I'm simply alternating between C and F, C7 and F, or F and C7, and just doing that over and over again. So I'm essentially playing a little melody with the fingers, but I'm simply doing this. And really make yourself focus on becoming independent with the thumb, because again, this is monotonous, but it's necessary that you do this to get your thumb in shape to do. Once you get your thumb moving in this direction, which is essentially alternating between two strings, the chord is kind of irrelevant, but what you want to do once you get that down is pick melodies at the same time. And so the next step would be to add a finger, and just the easiest thing is to just add a pinch to this, like this. On beats 2 and 4, I'm going to add a pinch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now to turn this into a roll, more like a banjo player, like a roll, you would now add the index finger. If you can't see me, my index finger is just hanging in the air right now. So now I'm essentially just rolling. And remember that the whole thing actually comes down to the thumb playing non-consecutive bass notes. So how Chet Atkins and Merle Travis would use that, well, to play any tune, they're essentially trying to copy the bass player's part, and then use the fingers with the thumb, that is. And so they want to play a bass player's part with their thumb and play the melody notes. So let's see here. Typical stuff would be to go between the 1 chord of my F to the 5-7 chord, again using the same concept of the thumb never playing 2 consecutive bass notes, like so. So I'm essentially playing F to C7 the basic way, using only the pinches. Check it out. Thumb is playing this over and over again, alternating. And then I'm just going to add a pinch now. So the right hand really doesn't do anything fancy at all. This is more like 2/4 style, Chet Atkins style. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Anyway, so that doesn't really matter, 2/4 versus 4/4, other than the fact that if I keep my thumb playing autopilot like this, I can roll and pinch and kind of get a combination of things. So again, that's really straightforward in 1, 2, 1, 2, Mary had a little lamb. To funk it up a little bit, you add those rolls in there and you try to play the melody, but you can take liberties with it as long as your thumb continues to do this. I'll play Cindy now, which is an old banjo tune, folk tune. It's a traditional tune. And so you now have to use some fingers to play some notes that are not necessarily in your chord, but this is not a big stretch. The next step then is to make this more advanced and interesting for yourself and stay curious about playing something on the ukulele, is to take common chord progressions that you already know, and instead of strumming through them, finger pick through them or roll them. It's a good way to accompany any song. So, you know, take any song, instead of strumming these chords, everybody knows how to do that, but to accompany it more like this. And for the, you know, the more advanced player, I guess I'll walk you through my piece called the Eminem Rag, the Mya Moe Rag. Just a little finger picking piece. It's a traditional ragtime style progression in the key of D on the ukulele, which isn't so common, but here it is anyway. So I'm essentially playing a close position D chord with the one exception, and it makes all the difference in the world, is I actually use my open A string as part of a melody here. So in other words, I take my index finger here and I put it on its point, so I actually have this chord that actually has two A's in it, but it's really just a D chord, and I get to use that A. So what I'm doing is holding my close position D chord with the open A string on top, and essentially I'm turning this chord into a D6 chord by adding this, which, if you've gone up the neck at all, you can take this chord and play this kind of thing. I'm kind of applying that concept, but I'm doing it with my right hand finger picking roll. So the chord progression really is this. If I were strumming it, I'd play D to G9. And if you're not sure what a G9 is, there it is for you. Bar at the 5th fret, use this finger. Some people play it this way. It doesn't really matter how you finger it as long as you have the right notes. So I'm essentially going from the 1 chord to the 4-7 chord, 1 chord to the 6 chord. And the 6th chord is B7. You can play a B like this and play a B7 like that, but I find it more interesting for my finger picking and my thumb bass notes to go to a B7 like this. So I'll play the first part for you again. Now the fancy part, the melody if you will, is simply holding down my B7 chord, which is now a B9 chord, and playing this to give it a little melody to go along with it, but I am picking that melody. Again, thumb never hits consecutive bass notes in a row. So I don't want to do this. I want to do this because it makes it a little more interesting. And then for the next chord, I'm just going to play a typical E7 in the open position that you all know, and using the same concept that I just used on the B7 chord to play a little melody, I'll go up like this. Again, the thumb never hits a consecutive bass note. Instead, it does this. And then I'm going to play A or A7. It doesn't matter. I use this one because it's easier. Gets us back to our little D. Again, this A7 is easier than do this, although technically this would work too. Oh, to wrap it up now, I'm going to do a common thing in ragtime, which is to turn it around with a sharp 5-5. In other words, to go from B flat 9 to A9. You hear that a lot in ragtime tunes. It's the common turnaround. You want me to play it one more time all the way through?